CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Live from London, this is The World Today.
Hello, I'm Paul Barber. Our top stories this hour. The storm that stole Christmas. Thousands of flights grounded and more than 1 million people without power as a deadly winter storm sweeps across the United States. Heavy snow is also causing chaos in Japan, where 9 people have been killed and dozens injured. 7 dead and dozens injured in a strike on the Ukrainian city of Kherson, as Russia's President Putin urges arms makers to step up production. And building bridges, how a Liverpudlian chef is cooking up a culinary link between China and the UK. A massive winter storm has swept across North America, cutting power, cancelling flights and causing one of the widest weather alerts on record. More than 2/3 of the US population is now under an extreme weather warning. Parts of the country are seeing temperatures below -40 degrees. The vast storm extends more than 3,000 kilometres from Texas to Quebec in Canada. Well, more than a dozen people have been killed in storm-related accidents. In Ohio, a 50-car pile-up on one turnpike killed 4 motorists. Another 4 died in traffic accidents elsewhere in the state. And the governor of New York is warning of more extreme cold to come.
I called it a kitchen sink storm because it is throwing everything at us but the kitchen sink. We've had ice, flooding, snow, freezing temperatures. Flash freeze and the icy roads are not going anywhere soon. This is going to be an event that's going to continue through the weekend, and the wind chills are going to be absolutely bone-chilling.
Well, the severe weather conditions have caused travel disruption across the US. On Friday alone, more than 3,700 flights were cancelled, creating chaos for holiday travellers. Our correspondent, William Denslow, has more now from New York, where a state of emergency is in effect.
New York City has largely been spared the worst of the conditions caused by this Arctic blast, but it's still having a major impact on travellers here. According to the website flightaware.com, more than 180 flights leaving New York's LaGuardia Airport had been cancelled by 10 a.m. local time, and more than 50 flights set to leave here at JFK also scrapped. It's a scene playing out across the US as this bitter winter blast is causing havoc for travellers from coast to coast. FlightAware.com estimates that by 10 a.m. on the East Coast, around 3,550 flights coming into, out of or within the US had been cancelled, with more than 2,000 delays reported. A number of airlines, including Delta, American and United, are allowing travellers to change their flights without paying a penalty. According to the American Automobile Association, more than 110 million Americans were planning to travel 50 miles or more over the holidays. With strong winds and heavy snowfall expected across much of the country, officials in a number of states are urging people to stay off the roads until the storm passes. William Denslow, CGTN, New York.
Snowstorms are also causing chaos on the other side of the world. Heavy snow continued to pummel northern and western Japan, claiming 9 lives and injuring dozens of people. Weather authorities say the snowfall will continue to land in coastal areas along the Sea of Japan until Monday. Terence Terashima has more from Tokyo.
Snowfall continues in northern Japan, mainly in the prefectures along the Sea of Japan. According to the Meteorological Agency, heavy snow is expected to continue until Monday morning, as a typical winter-type pressure continued to place cold air above the country. In Hokuriku area, 80 centimeters of snow is expected until Sunday, while the Tohoku area and the Hokkaido prefectures will see snowfalls amounting to 70 and 40 centimeters respectively. However, the snowfall is expected to ease from Tuesday. Fire agencies said 9 people died in the past week, mostly elderly people in their 70s and 80s, falling after trying to remove snow from their roof. Authorities want people not to attempt removing snow on their own and seek help. Several train lines and air traffic were disrupted. Thousands of homes in Niigata and Hokkaido continue to have no power due to power lines being cut off by strong winds and fallen trees and heavy snowfall. Authorities are conducting regular patrols, especially on the roads that lead to the towns in the mountain region. Some remained isolated. Officials said the weather could turn suddenly and asked people to remain vigilant. Tereshima, CGTN, Tokyo.
In other news, 7 people have been killed and dozens injured in a Russian strike in the Ukrainian city of Kherson. President Zelensky has described it as an act of terror, saying the targets were civilians. Meanwhile, on a trip to a weapons maker, President Putin has called on Russian arms manufacturers to increase their supplies to help support the effort in Ukraine. Moscow says 17 new army battalions will also be operational in the new year. Meanwhile, Belarus says that its president is on a 3-day trip to Russia. Alexander Lukashenko is reported to be visiting a cosmonaut training center near Moscow before attending a meeting of the 11 heads of the former Soviet states in St. Petersburg. Our correspondent Stephanie Freed is in the city of Kharkiv and a short time ago gave us an update on the latest attack.
The numbers of victims, 5 to 8 who have been killed, it's blurry at the moment, not 100% concrete, dozens that were injured. It was a strike, a Russian strike, in the city of Kherson, south of here, southwest of here. Ukraine's President Zelensky almost immediately issuing irate statements about that attack, calling it an act of terror, as you noted. He also noted the fact that it was happening, that it happened on Christmas Eve, saying that it was killing for the sake of intimidation and pleasure, also noting that on social media, the images that came out of that strike would be flagged as sensitive content, but Volodymyr Zelensky said this sensitive life is Ukraine's and Ukrainians. That's the reality, sensitive or not, for Ukraine and Ukrainians. Ahead of this holiday season, there had been warnings that were issued from Kyiv about a possible uptick in strikes, asking people to heed the warnings, telling people to please, when they hear air raid sirens, to go to shelters. Not necessarily seeing that people are heeding those warnings, but that is the latest that we have on the strike in Kherson.
Stephanie Freed there. Demonstrations have been held in Paris after 3 people were shot dead outside a Kurdish cultural centre. The gunman had a history of racist violence and is now in custody. President Emmanuel Macron called it a heinous attack. Kurdish groups in France have described the shooting as terror-related. It has since emerged that the chief suspect was released on bail earlier this month after allegedly stabbing several people with a sword at a migrant camp. The Taliban has barred all Afghan women from working in domestic or foreign non-governmental organisations. The government says it's acting on complaints that women working for NGOs were not wearing the hijab correctly. Any NGO not complying with the order has been told it faces having its licence to operate in Afghanistan revoked. COVID infections continue to rise in the Chinese mainland after authorities relaxed control measures. Medical authorities are expanding the capacity of fever clinics to cope with the surge as local governments step up efforts to ensure the supply of equipment. A number of cities have distributed free health kits, including cough medication and special masks. And people aged over 60 are being offered a second COVID booster shot. Holiday travel plans have been thrown into turmoil in the UK as railway workers stage a fresh round of strikes over Christmas. More than 40,000 workers are expected to take part. Britain has been hit by wave after wave of strikes this winter as workers demand better pay to offset spiralling inflation. And there's no end in sight. Nurses, ambulance drivers and railway workers are all planning to walk out in January. Still ahead on CGTN. As Christmas arrives, we meet a secret Santa in Germany who's been writing letters to children all over the world.
Ever wondered what's the difference between a bear and the bull market? Where are the cash cows? And who are the lame ducks? And what exactly are black swans? Grey rhinos? And unicorn companies? Make sense of it all with Global Business, only on CGTN.
There's a new agenda for a new world, accelerating change in almost every part of our lives. It's shifting the norms of how we work, travel, and connect. How we think, interact, and develop. It's a new reality, a new agenda with me, Juliette Mann.
This week on Razor, it's our end-of-year special, where we look back at some of the memorable stories we've had the privilege to cover.
Obviously, every story I work on with Razor I enjoy and love deeply, but this was one that really stuck with me.
Okay, so we're in the large intestine now. Yeah, it's actually kind of the capital of your microbiome. About 99% of everything you have in and on you is in your intestines.
Welcome back. A reminder of our headlines. Thousands of flights grounded and more than 1 million people without power as a deadly winter storm sweeps across the United States. 7 dead and dozens injured in a strike on the Ukrainian city of Kherson as Russia's President Putin urges arms makers to step up production. President Xi Jinping has called for an all-out effort to build China's strength in the agricultural sector. During a speech at the Central Rural Work Conference, President Xi said that without rural modernization, socialist modernization will be incomplete. Zheng Chunying reports.
Build China into a country with strong agricultural. That's what Chinese President Xi Jinping outlined at the Central Rural Work Conference. The president added that ensuring the stable and safe supply of food and important agricultural products had always been the top priority in the pursuit of an agricultural power. A point echoed by current affairs commentator Mr. Victor Gao.
Because to feed and clothe the 1.4 billion people, that's China's population, China can only rely on itself. Self-reliance and independence of food production will be absolutely important and necessary for China.
Since 2012, China has attached great importance to work related to agriculture, rural areas, and farmers, and has made enormous progress in poverty alleviation and rural revitalization. The country's per capita disposable income of rural residents reached 18,900 yuan in 2021, more than doubling that of 2012. The income gap between urban and rural residents is also narrowed. However, experts said there are still more tough tasks ahead in the pursuit of the modernization of agriculture and rural areas.
Comparing the countryside with the urban areas in China, there is still insufficient access to healthcare, schools, for example, elderly care, and child care of all kinds. And how China can really make sure that people in the countryside will love to stay in the countryside, and there will be other jobs to be provided just by their doorstep, rather than having younger generation in the countryside having to travel great distances to cities, to urban centers, for example, to find jobs. This is another challenge, because otherwise you are talking about the potential hollowing out of the countryside.
And now the country has pledged to tackle with these challenges. Among other highlights of the conference, the Chinese president called on accelerating public service facilities in elderly care and medical care and improve the rural's infrastructure system. The president urged to build the whole agricultural industrial chain and enhance market competitiveness and sustainable development capacity in order to attract more talents with more jobs. Also during the conference, Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged the protection of rural communities from COVID-19 as New Year and Spring Festival holidays near. Faced with challenges coming with the relaxation of epidemic controls, the president has called on efforts to guarantee medical care for returning migrant workers and college and secondary school students. Online and offline medical services will be provided, and essential drugs and test kits will also be easily accessible. Zheng Chunying, CGTN, Beijing.
In the past year, we've been telling you our bridge builder stories, individuals who've expanded understanding between China and the UK. In today's episode, we meet Dave Critchley, a Liverpudlian chef who now runs an award-winning restaurant with his secret Chinese recipe.
70 years ago, a small group of British businessmen travelled to China to unlock opportunities between the two countries. They became known as the icebreakers. Meet the bridge builders, the individuals who dare to think beyond the horizon and open up our world.
I am Dave Critchley. I'm the executive head chef at Luban Restaurant here in Liverpool. First begins at the age of 15. I went to my local pub and asked if they had any spare jobs going. And so at the age of 15, I was washing dishes at the local pub and never thought I would be sat here. I've worked in some of the top restaurants in the north of England. Worked around Liverpool, Manchester and the surrounding areas. I always wanted to learn from the best, become the best. So this is the most amazing part of my journey, the Chinese food odyssey, I like to call it. I was working in a restaurant in Manchester, and then I received a phone call and said, would you like to come back to Liverpool? We've got this exciting project. It's a Chinese restaurant and we'd really like you to be part of it. They wanted to fly me out to China, out to Tianjin. I would study with the chefs out there. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I thought to myself. So I absolutely jumped at that opportunity to learn, to see, to travel out to China. Incredible. So in 2019, when I first landed there, it was incredible. Beautiful city, huge skyscrapers, amazing vista, this amazing river that ran through the centre of the city, and it reminded me a lot of Liverpool. So I stayed in Tianjin for about 3 weeks. I spent some time in the college with Master Wu and the master chefs of Tianjin, learning dishes, experiencing new flavours, new techniques, and then I was taken all around the city to the best restaurants and ate the most incredible food I've ever eaten in my life. Here we are at Chinese Ancient Culture Street in Tianjin. Smells are really nice down here. I think my enthusiasm and my passion for those dishes and for the learning must have rubbed off on Master Wu. As on my return back to the UK, we received notice that Master Wu wanted to make me his final apprentice. I mean, this is a huge honour, something I never saw happening. We think I'm the first Westerner to ever receive this accolade. And obviously this doesn't happen to everyone every day. So an incredible moment in my career, probably my proudest moment in my career so far. So we returned back really excited from Tianjin at the end of August 2019, full of excitement, full of real passion to get going, build the team, build the restaurant, create this amazing project. So here we are in Luban Restaurant. Luban is obviously a very famous character in China, and we chose Luban as the name because Luban was a master of his skills, a carpenter by trade. So when we refer to Luban, we're talking about his method of education, his method of learning. We have a picture of Luban that looks across the kitchen. He's keeping his eye on us, making sure we're training correctly, making sure we are reaching our full potential. We feel the same passion and the same methods that Lu Ban would have used all those years ago to train his apprentices, we can do the same here with ours. So our vision here is to train the next generation of Chinese chefs. We're also teaching the rest of our staff about Chinese culture so they can take that information and pass it on to our customers and our guests. We're very much trying to build a bridge between China and the UK, letting British customers experience what we experienced out in China. I'm very grateful to say that the Chinese community here welcomed us once they knew our story, and obviously the local community has also really embraced what we're doing here. They love this new style of Chinese food. It's healthy, it's fresh, it's exciting, it's modern, and it really celebrates the best of local British produce, but served with that Chinese MasterChef flair and that attention to detail that I saw in China. 2022 has been an incredible year for us. I was selected to be on Great British Menu, which is a cookery show in the UK. It was something that I used to watch as a young chef growing up, aspiring to be on that show. So to be invited on that show was a big deal for me, a huge tick on my box. Got on the show that I wanted to be on for all those years. And I got to showcase Chinese food, or at least my interpretation of Chinese food, which was incredible for us here. It put Lu Ban restaurant on the map nationally. And then we recently won Best Restaurant in England at the Visit England Awards. So that's the tourism board for England, the whole country, saying that Lu Ban is the taste of England this year, the best restaurant in England. So we must be doing something really good. I think food is an incredible way of bringing different cultures together. I learned a massive amount about Chinese culture from just being sat at the dinner table and eating the food with the people around me. And I think other people in the UK can do the same as well. I fell in love with Chinese culture the second I started to experience it. I am enjoying learning every aspect about it. Everything seems to have a story, a history, and I just think that's absolutely beautiful. My dream for the future is to obviously complete my Chinese MasterChef studies, become the world's first non-Chinese Chinese MasterChef. I have plans for 2023 to go and do a food tour around as much as China as I can see, really celebrating the ancient food and the modern food of China, and documenting it all and bringing it back to the UK to show everyone.
Dave Critchley of Lu Ban there. And finally, in the run-up to Christmas, children around the world are waking up to find exciting letters in their morning post from none other than Santa Claus. The messages were sent from the St. Nikolaus post office in Germany, whose volunteers have been keeping the magic of Christmas alive for more than half a century. Our correspondent, Natalie Carney, went for a look behind the scenes.
The real Saint Nick was an early Christian bishop, famed for having performed several miracles and secret gift-giving. He was the inspiration for the jolly red-suited reindeer-riding, chimney-scaling, present-bringing man known as Santa Claus around the world. But in Germany, Saint Nikolaus, or Santa, is a rather different figure. He answers the letters of children and tells the Christ child what gifts they would like.
No, I'm Santa Claus. Christ child brings the presents. Nicholas gets the letters and then passes on the wishes to the Christ child.
All letters addressed to Saint Nick or Santa that are sent from around the world arrive at the St. Nicholas post office.
From Russia, more from China, Japan, almost all over the world, Ukraine. And I'm happy about every letter I get.
And he diligently replies to each and every one of them. Not an easy task, with well over 30,000 letters having arrived by Christmas Eve from 45 different countries. Thankfully, St. Nick has help. Around 40 volunteers read the letters, sort them, and then write up replies in 9 different languages.
Most children naturally write their wish lists to St. Nick and what they would like for Christmas from the Christ child. But there are also many children who simply tell St. Nick something about what they have experienced over the year, how school is, where they may be on vacation, or ask St. Nick what he does in the summer, whether he's married, whether he has children, and things like that.
This important Christmas tradition for the St. Nicolaus community grew from the actions of one man who, back in 1966, began sending letters and gifts to children. Others found out and began writing to St. Nick in St. Nicolaus, Saarland, and from there it grew and grew. 56 years later, the tradition continues.
The children need a contact out of the ordinary. They want to write something different to someone, and every child gets an answer. I'm glad that I have so many people so that every child can look to a letter. Every child is a friend, everyone.
Keeping the magic of Christmas alive for children around the world has become an important job for the volunteers of St. Nicolaus, who by chance have become the keepers of so many children's secrets and wishes. Natalie Carney, CGTN, St. Nicolaus, Germany.
In a moment, my colleague Juliette Mann will be here with the agenda. In this week's show, is it time to hang up our mobile phones? She'll be asking if the world needs a digital detox. That's the agenda, right after The World Today at 16:30 GMT here on CGTN. The headlines this hour: thousands of flights grounded and more than 1 million people without power as a deadly winter storm sweeps across the United States. Heavy snow also causing chaos in Japan, where 9 people have been killed and dozens injured. And 7 dead and dozens injured in a strike on the Ukrainian city of Kherson, as Russia's President Putin urges arms makers to step up production. And that is The World Today. Thank you for watching. We're on smart TV apps Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire and Android TV, YouTube and Dailymotion, CGTN.com and the CGTN app. And in the UK, 24 hours a day on Freeview. There will be more news at the top of the hour. For now, from all the team in London, goodbye.